Welcome back to Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters. In the mountains of Appalachia, there are stories people grow up hearing, told and retold until they almost don't feel real anymore. But this isn't one of those stories, because it happened to me. When a thing of folklore enters your reality, it sticks with you. It's the kind of thing you replay in your head, trying to figure out what you actually saw. Because sometimes, out here in the hollers, you don't just hear about things that lurk in the dark. You experience them. And tonight, I'm sharing my story. I've gone over this moment in my mind more times than I can count, trying to explain what I saw and whether there's any logical explanation. But the truth is, I still don't have one. My husband and I had just dropped my daughter off at my mom's house. This is where I grew up, so there's no place that I feel more comfortable letting her stay the night. It's located on a quiet back road in a valley of the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. On a road that we have traveled countless times, just like this. There's an open field on one side and rolling hills and forests on the other. It's curvy. The speed limit's only 30, so we weren't going fast. I was just coming over the hill when something came running out of the woods. And when I say running, I mean it crossed both lanes of the road in maybe 2 strides. It was huge, easily 7 feet long, running on all 4s, but not like anything I've ever seen before. Its body was long and sickly thin, with exaggerated limbs and back legs that bent like a dog's. It was covered in sparse white hair that was so thin in places that you could see its skin underneath. And the first thought that my brain could form was, this looks like Professor Lupin from Harry Potter, like in werewolf form. That's the only thing that my brain could compare it to, because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. No animals look or move like that. My husband and I just sat there, in complete silence, like our brains didn't even know how to begin processing what we had just seen. And then, out of the low-hanging tree ahead, an owl swoops down right in front of our windshield. I screamed, because I thought I was about to hit it. And that's what finally snapped me out of my stunned silence. I screamed, "What the heck was that?" And he still was incredulously staring out the windshield and simply said, "I have no idea." The next thing we did was debate whether we should turn around and go back and get our daughter, or maybe call my mom and warn her. We ended up calling her. Told her to make sure all the doors were locked, to not go outside until morning. Because my visceral reaction to seeing this thing was instant. It was immediate terror. When my mouth had no words, my brain just said, "This isn't right." I wish either of us could tell you exactly what we saw. My husband and I have discussed and reflected. We are both skeptics and will always look for a logical explanation first. But the truth is, we went home with so many questions. I began researching to try to better understand what it was that we might have seen. The first thing I came across were reports of something called the Dog Man, a creature described as large, powerful, sometimes on 2 legs, sometimes on 4. with long limbs and features that don't quite fit any known animal. And I couldn't ignore the similarities. After all, my knee-jerk reaction was to compare what I saw to a werewolf. But some of the oldest stories about things in these mountains don't come from modern sightings. They come from the people who were here long before us. Stories that weren't meant to entertain, but to warn. In Cherokee lore, wolves are revered creatures. There are many references to wolves in the histories of Cherokee culture. Wolves were understood to have a life that was to be respected, just as one would a human's. They were often associated with spiritual warnings or signs. Over time, the lore brought over from European settlers into the Appalachians about black dogs, grims, or hellhounds that herald death or meshed with local folklore, and created the legends of the devil dog or white dog that is often seen along roads in the South, an omen of ill fortune to come. It's not an animal, but something tied to the land itself, following and then waiting for the beholder to meet their end. And while it doesn't come from this region, there are other native traditions that speak of something that shares features with what we saw, something that is not supposed to be talked about openly. Stories of something that was once human, that gave up their humanity for horrible powers. They can take on the form of animals, but not quite right, like something is off about them, something that moves between forms and is deeply tied to Navajo spiritual belief, not just folklore. Out of respect for those traditions, it's not something I'm going to name here, because in some cultures, even talking about these entities is dangerous. But hearing about all the things that people have reported seeing, things that can appear not quite animal, not quite human, it does make you wonder. And then I came across another possibility. This creature doesn't sound unsimilar to a creature known as a pale crawler or rake. They are tall, unnaturally thin, with pale, almost translucent skin. They have excessively long limbs and movements that don't quite look human, but don't fully look animal either. And one of the most unsettling details is how fast it moves. Covering distances at impossible speeds, appearing suddenly and disappearing just as quickly. And when I compared that to what I saw that night, the length, the movement, the speed, it didn't match perfectly, but it was close enough to make me uncomfortable. And what made everything even stranger was when I told my mom about what happened. She didn't laugh it off. She told me that people nearby, neighbors, locals, have reported seeing something that they call the Allegheny White Thing, a large, pale creature seen in a mountainous area known as Allegheny Loop, sometimes reported as having dog-like features. There are several legends of white things throughout the South. They are reported as being extremely tall with white, shaggy hair. They are described as looking dog or bear-like, not unlike the devil dog's descriptions. And that's when it really sank in. I'm one of many who have seen something that they truly can't explain away. Whether it was the dog man, something rooted in legend, or something closer to what people now call a pale crawler, I still don't have an answer. But I know what I saw, and I know what I felt. And that feeling isn't something that you forget. It's a fear that lingers in the back of your mind forever. Have you experienced something strange? strange lights or shadows, phantom footsteps on an otherwise abandoned trail, or something watching you from the tree line, give me a holler. Send your story to myhollerstory@gmail.com, and your encounter might be featured on a future Eerie Encounters episode. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you're following so you don't miss what's coming next. Episodes are out every Saturday at 5 p.m. EST on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, you can find the link to my website under the show description. But most importantly, thank you for listening. The mountains of Appalachia have always been a place of mystery. Long before the roads and towns, these ridges held stories of strange creatures, wandering spirits, and encounters no one could explain. And even today, deep within the forests of the Great Smoky Mountains, people still report seeing things they can't quite understand. And every time I drive that road now, I still catch myself looking at the tree line. This has been Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters with Stormy Skies. Thank you for listening and for stepping with me into the shadows of Appalachia. Until next time, stay out of the hollers after dark.